There's this awful story about 7 young guys working at a Mexican call center in the state of Jalisco, a wealthy state, well put off. The region of Guadalajara, which is basically one of probably the second or third biggest metropole in Mexico. So these 7 guys were working at this call center as hundreds or thousands of young men work in Mexico in call centers. They don't pay good, but you can, make a living out of that when you're young. These 7 guys were working at this call center, including 2 American brothers, originally from Arizona. Last week, by the end of last week or early this week, they were reported missing. At some point, they left home to go work on this call center, and they never came back. The families gathered, and they started reaching out to each other, reaching to authorities, reaching to the call center, trying to figure out what happened with their kids, right? No one knew what happened to the kids. They disappeared from the surface of the earth, apparently, allegedly. Then Jalisco state authorities began looking for them. And then this is where the story becomes ugly. On Thursday, yesterday, authorities announced that they found at least 45 bags containing human remains in the outskirts of Guadalajara. The authorities said that this was discovered during a long search on the mountain area of Guadalajara, and that several of those remains found were women and men. A helicopter assisted firefighters to get to the very bottom of a canyon, of a chasm, where they found these bags, plastic bags, black plastic bags, and when they opened them, they found all these remains. The chasm was about 120 feet deep. It was a good drop, meaning that probably those who dropped the bodies of these kids down to this chasm had to drive a very off-roady terrain and know very well the area, and then drop everything down there. What they found was a lot of bones of people between their 20s and 30s. They hadn't confirmed yet that these remainings were actually from the kids working at that call center, right? But just last night, authorities made the ugly confirmation that the remains are of these 7, well, I think it's now 8 young kids who used to work at this call center. Let me show you the photo of some of these kids. As you can see on screen, very, very young people, including a woman, I think including 2 women. One of these women and one of these men were citizens of the U.S., born in Arizona. This is happening more and more often in Mexico. And this is something that has to do, again, has its origins, again, with the drug cartels. The one responsible, although authorities haven't recognized that the one responsible for this shit was the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. What is the link? I still don't know. But what I found is the next. This call center was or had links to the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. The Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación is becoming broader in terms of making revenue, right? As I told you since the very beginning, a lot of you guys, a lot of people who are probably not really aware of what's happening in Mexico with Mexican drug cartels, they think they are still drug cartels. Thing is, they are making so little money from drugs compared to what they're doing from exploiting natural resources, human smuggling, human trafficking, and Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación is on top of scam operations in Mexico. This call center, allegedly, was not legal and was making scams against U.S. citizens through what we called in Mexico tiempo compartido, timeshares, which is basically properties on the beachside, on luxurious apartments that you can rent out for a season, and a lot of people can rent out the same place. This is widely popular on beach resorts, right? Just this month, early last month, I published a story of how the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación was running a timeshare fraud network, settled in Guadalajara, but operating the scheme in Puerto Vallarta, beautiful beach in Mexico. They were targeting specifically senior citizens of the U.S. They were making them believe through these call centers that they were paying or buying a timeshare. And they were able to get, because I mean, we're talking about U.S. citizens, right? These are the most innocent people in the world. Imagine your old abuelito, your old grandma, calling to Mexico. Someone speak English on the other side of the line, and they are offering you this deal of your life. You're going to be owner of this beautiful beachside property that you can visit whenever you want, and it's only going to cost you something like $2,000 a year. So you're like, fuck yes, sign me in for that. And then they ask you for a fee, and if you're innocent enough or naive enough, you're gonna send another fee, and then another fee, and then another fee, until you never get your paperwork for this timeshare, or when you go all the way down to Puerto Vallarta and then try to use your timeshare and it's non-existent. These guys were not making little money. These guys were getting huge money from these timeshare scams. The U.S. Department of Treasury flagged several companies that I still can't confirm that one of these companies had direct links with this call center. The thing is, it's kind of hard to confirm because this call center was non-existent, right? It was working under the table. It wasn't really registered. But the companies flagged were Servicios Administrativos 42, Integración Baveda, JM Providers Office, Promotora Vallarta 1, and Rexervi. Also, Corporativo Title 1, Corporativo TS Business Inc., and TS Business Corporativo. Major companies, established companies, working with the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación on the timeshares scam. A lot of these young guys, of course, they didn't know, right, that they were working for the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación or that they were scamming people. This is young guys that are just looking for a job. Then someone calls up and say like, hey, there is a job working in a call center. If you speak English, we can pay you well. We can give you the job. And all you have to do is show up to this house, put on your headset, and start making calls to a list of numbers the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación gets from U.S. phone companies. Again, there is corruption all over, right? It's like a funnel for the fucking Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. Someone in the U.S. needs to get a list of fucking numbers. Your phone number, my phone number, like these fucking scammers always, it's not that hard to get a list for scammers, right? Well, this information is then sent back to Mexico, to one of these shell companies that put together a bunch of different fake call centers. They start calling people in the U.S., reaching them out, and then scamming them. This is one of the worrying things. First, of course, they were targeting, because they were hiring people who knew how to speak English, right? Young guys who spoke English. Many of those who have ties to the U.S., who have family in the U.S., or that are U.S. citizens themselves, like these two brothers from Arizona. I still haven't seen these news breaking on the mainstream media about these two guys from Arizona, but I'm pretty sure you're going to start hearing that this morning or probably over the weekend, and we're going to confirm their identity. Again, guys, don't fall for these scams. Make sure, Mexico and Mexican drug cartels have so many resources that if you think you're unreachable because of you in the US and you never share your phone with anyone, well, guess what? Your phone company is probably sharing your phone and your personal information with these fucking Mexican drug cartels, and the least they can do is to scam you, but they can also definitely extort you. What about if they sell these fucking timeshare for you? They make you go all the way to Puerto Vallarta, you're feeling good, you're feeling confident that you're in good hands or whatever, and you end up being kidnapped or extorted by one of these criminals. We need to pay attention, guys. We need to be aware of these. Share this message. Share this message, of course, to your family and friends, because they need to know that a lot of these timeshare operations are scams. You need to have paperwork. You need to confirm. You need to go down there or have someone there to confirm that this is a working company, and not only that they exist, right? But also that it is not a scam and you're not handing money directly to the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. When you get a job, when your cousin, your primito, your sobrino, whatever, wants a job in Mexico, make sure it is registered. Make sure the job actually exists and that it has not linked with a Mexican drug cartel, which is kind of hard to do. But if you look well enough, if you keep informed, you will know that you don't need to be a sicario, you don't need to be an halcón to be part of a major drug cartel like the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. All you need to do is to get a bad job at a shitty call center, right? Again, let me read you these companies so you're aware, because most of these are still operating. Servicios Administrativos Ford 2. Ford as the car 2. Integración Báveda. JM Providers Office. This one is a big one. Promotora Vallarta 1. Rexervi. Also, Corporativo Title 1. Corporativo TS Business Inc. and TS Business Corporativo. If you happen to find one of these names on your documents from these timeshares, then you're giving or you're handing out money to the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. Sad news again, guys. Nothing that I really was expecting. I honestly was expecting that the Mexican authorities confirmed that the rest found on these plastic bags were not from them and were probably from other sicarios or rival enemies of the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación were thrown out on these bags. But sadly, it is the body of innocent people. 8 young guys that all they wanted to do is to get a proper job, get some money out of a job that didn't seem to be sketchy at all, right? It was just a call center. 2 of them, US citizens from Arizona.